Welcome to the show. I'm Danella. Here's what's happening now. There is a lot to talk about. It was a crazy week. Of course, you know we're going to have to talk about leaving Neverland. Of course, we're going to talk about a crying, tearful R. Kelly. And yet somehow, Democratic donor Ed Buck remains. If you don't know Ed Buck, stick around. You're going to get to know him a lot better. But some of you, I'm sure, already know him and are like, wait, how is this man still free? Yeah, we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to kick off the show with Political Pop. Here is your Political Pop. Well, the Democratic National Committee says no way will Fox be allowed to broadcast any of the 2020 election coverage. Why? Because you're biased. I don't know if any of you caught the New Yorker article that connects Trump directly to Fox News Network, even saying that both Trump and Fox News share the same incorrect data. And so the DNC is like, how can we expect fair coverage from a network that cozies up with Trump, our direct competitor? Yeah, I guess that's what they're saying. I just have to say, never before in our history, and my history at least, have I ever heard this possible. It's sad though, because there are folks that watch Fox and that would like to see what the Democrats have to say. I guess Fox viewers will have to watch on another network. And that was your Political Pop. Now, before we get into all the teardrops and emotional strife, it was tough week. Let's talk about a flaming gallbladder. Did you hear about this? A mom says that her teenage daughter's gallbladder had to be removed because of flaming hot Cheetos and Takis. Here's what the mom had to say.
Listen to this. A Memphis mother says her daughter had to have her gallbladder removed because she ate too much of these snacks like hot Cheetos or Takis. So doctors at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital told us they're seeing this a lot. They're seeing more and more children who come in with bad stomach pain because they're eating these flaming hot snacks. Now she says she's going to not only monitor her daughter's consumption of Takis and Flamin' Hot Cheetos, but other people's children's consumption as well.
Even little kids you see coming down the street, if I see you with some hot Cheetos, some hot fries, some hot Takis, I'm taking them. Go get your mama, go get your grandfather, go get your daddy, your uncle, your dog. I'm fighting them all.
Yeah, she is totally going to be a meme. That needs to be my motto. I'm going to fight your grandmother, your mother, your aunt. That's how I need to start going hard on the playground.
Go get your mama, go get your grandfather, go get your daddy, your uncle, your dog. I'm fighting them all.
Don't play. But isn't that crazy? Think about all the hot or just potato chips that you would eat as a child. This mom says that her child would eat potato chips, these flaming hot chips and such, at least 4 times a week. And remember when we were kids, it made me start thinking about like how your parent might put a bag of chips in your lunch if you carried lunch or something like that. But remember the chips would be like small bags. Remember they weren't, big old bags of chips. So I'm wondering if it is the chips, the spice, or the chemicals. So consider yourself warned. You gotta watch what you eat.
If I see you with some hot Cheetos, some hot fries, some hot Takis, I'm taking them. Go get your mama, go get your grandfather, go get your daddy, your uncle, your dog. I'm fighting them all.
Now, before we get into your boy R. Kelly, let's talk about Michael just a bit. This was hard. Did you guys watch the Leaving Neverland documentary? It was a 2-night documentary. Remember, it first aired at Sundance Film Festival. And Michael Jackson's estate was very obviously upset about the documentary. They are now actually suing HBO for defamation. Apparently, they said that HBO had an agreement to not put out any disparaging content against Michael. Yeah, that documentary is disparaging. I'm not sure how that lawsuit is going to go. But it was tough watching it. First of all, it's 2 nights. And then on the second night, it's like the Oprah reunion show. It was amazing. I emotionally was torn. I don't even want to go into details, But when I first watched Leaving Neverland, even the first documentary, or I should say part 1, I was just kind of like, I have to say the media critic in me is watching like some of these signs, like body language is characteristic of when you're not being honest. I'm just saying, don't kill me. This is what I naturally do. Like, where are you looking? And I know people debate, if you look up to the right, that means you're lying. But then there's a lot of science that says that's not really true, because people could lie and program their body to look like they're telling the truth. But then when they got to part 2 of that documentary, it was very difficult, because as I'm watching them, also being a trauma survivor, different type of trauma, but trauma survivor, they definitely react as victims of trauma. So then it starts to become harder to not believe them. Again, this is one side of the story. We're not hearing any other sides, but they really paint, if you haven't watched it, man, watch it, be the judge for yourself. But they really paint the picture of a pedophile. And when I watched Neverland, it reminded me a lot of R. Kelly. Again, we're going to get into him in just a moment. But it reminded me of R. Kelly, because when you watch the R. Kelly documentary and you're hearing the women speak and the parents speak, what do they say? They say, he promised our child a chance to be a star and take our child's career to the next level. And, they feel so comfortable with him. They trust R. Kelly. And when you think about any predator, whether it be a sexual predator, whether it be a abusive person, the way that they're able to get in is the connection with their victim, even the victim's family. They really lure the victims in. Whether it be money, whether it be friendship, like, oh, this person seems so nice, really took care of my family. And then they always talk about isolation that starts to happen. And so when you're hearing it, it's like, man, this is just sounds characteristic of someone that would be a predator. It's just hard. Because again, Michael's not here to defend himself, and we weren't there. However, man, I want to know what you think, because on our show Adverse Reaction, a lot of our callers are torn, like straight down the middle. A lot of people said that they didn't watch the documentary because they're like, Michael's not here. He's already been proven innocent. Why are we doing this again? Then when you watch it, oh my goodness, when you watch it, ooh, it's hard. You start finding ways to say, there's no way this can be true. You think to yourself like, oh, the little kid said that when Michael was going down on him, his hair felt like Brillo. And you're like, how could Michael's hair, why didn't it feel like oil and juice, chemicals or something? Why wouldn't it feel soft? So maybe that's not true. And then you start saying, well, maybe someone else in the house did it and not Michael. But then you start thinking, this is a lot of maybes and what ifs, I'm curious. If you've watched it, tell me what you think. Is this a case of us being blinded by his music? Or is this another example of people tearing down another African American? That's what's happening amongst our reactors on Adverse Reaction. That's what they say a lot, because you're seeing all of these men. If you think about it, you see Michael Jackson, even Bill Cosby. He was America's dad. Russell Simmons had to leave the country. He's out because of his allegations. And R. Kelly, arguably one of the most talented, if not the most talented R&B singer-songwriters of our time. I don't want to say it. I don't want to be Pied Pipered, but the man is talented. And he also has a trail of victims. So let's just jump into R. Kelly.
Fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career. Why would I hold all these women? Their mothers and fathers told me, we're going to destroy your career. I need help.
What kind of help?
This is the kind of help I need.
Yes, what kind of help?
I need somebody to help me not have a big heart, because my heart is so big.
Did you see it? Did you see R. Kelly and Gail? I'm going to be honest. I had to watch the clips. But then I had to watch the full interview. Here's some highlights. R. Kelly vehemently denying his guilt. He's saying that the public, us, we are trying him for a crime that he's already been acquitted of. This is double jeopardy. According to the Chicago Police Department, again, just to recap, they're investigating 4 different claims of sexual assault on a minor. So these different claims, my understanding, are 4 different women. Also now Detroit is also not only looking into the investigation in Chicago, but they are also looking into one woman's claim that when she was 17, R. Kelly gave her herpes. And also that's sex. There was sex with a minor. I think she had sex with him when she was younger than that. So they're investigating those allegations. And he was arrested again for not paying child support. And he's not having it. Tears, man. Did you see the tears? Tears. And as I'm watching R. Kelly, it's clear to me that he's sick. I believe that he wholeheartedly believes he is being attacked. I believe he wholeheartedly believes that maybe he was dating young girls in the past, but he's not now because they're all legal between 17 or 18, 19. He's either the best actor in the world or really sick. I don't think he's the best actor in the world. I think he believes what it is that he's saying, that he's not doing anything wrong. And there's one thing we have to, before we get into the freedom of Ed Buck, I got to talk about that. But there's one thing that all of these predators or anybody that is abusive, one thing that everybody has in common, besides, luring their victims in, is that they have an entire support system of co-conspirators, if you look at it, because none of these people are able to do what they are doing without the help of family members. You have so many people saying that they knew something was wrong in all of these cases, but nothing was done. And R. Kelly's like, look, we decades out now. What's the problem? We decades out now. Why are you crucifying him? That's what he feels. And it brings up the question also that the blame is not just on R. Kelly, but all of the people that saw something and didn't say something. Even the first person that abused R. Kelly. And all of the people that were involved in protecting that original abuser. And all of the people, whether it be his record company, record execs, A&Rs, that saw countless and countless young girls and didn't question anything. Just was like, oh, well, he's different. That's weird. I'm going to give you guys something to watch because this was crazy. On Adverse Reaction, Aladdin recommended this show. It's on Netflix. It's called Abducted in Plain Sight. He's like, you have to watch it. When I tell you, if you haven't seen it, I'm going into too much detail because I want you to see it. We can talk about it. It's literally like, what the hell are people thinking? What are people thinking? Specifically, what do parents think? How do they think to protect their child? Sometimes they just don't. And you realize that common sense is not common. I'm watching Abducted in Plain Sight. I'm listening to the parents on Leaving Neverland. And I'm like, why would you, if he did it or didn't do it, why would you allow your child to share a bed with a grown man? You don't even know this man. How would that ever make sense? Why isn't there, I swear, accountability on the parents? Just across the board. Even for R. Kelly, you have these parents now saying, oh, we need to get our daughter back. But then you also have these parents saying that R. Kelly had charges against him, but he was found innocent. But yet you still let your daughter be out of on stage with him or alone with him or touring with him in some kind of way. As a teenager, parents crying like, how could this happen to my child? And my heart goes to the child and the parents. And I'm just saying, as a community, we have to do better. We have to do better to protect our children. It's tough because you don't want to believe that the world is completely dangerous, but you equally can't just be confused when you hear these allegations and then are like, oh man, it's really happening. Where you have to stay with your child. So now we're going to go into In Our World. In Our World this week, I'm asking the question, well, what about Ed Buck? Who is Ed Buck? In case you're wondering, he's a Democratic donor, a huge donor, philanthropist. He's best known for animal rights, LGBTQ activism. Oh yeah, and donations to Democratic politicians and causes. And has also had 2 African-American men found dead in his home. One back in 2017, another one in January. One of the men, which I feel is one of the reasons why they probably didn't shed as much light on it, was a sex worker. Both men part of the LGBTQ community, which is also maybe why the police didn't previously look further into this. I do have to say that once R. Kelly started ramping back up, then you started to see the community come out and protest right in front of Ed Buck's home, demanding that the police really launch an investigation into the death of these 2 men. So who are these 2 men? So the first victim in 2017, Jamel Moore, he died of a methamphetamine overdose in Buck's home in LA. Investigators said that they found multiple sex toys, multiple syringes, and clear plastic bags with what they believed to be methamphetamine. Moore was homeless and had worked as an escort. Then in January, 2019, another man, 55-year-old Timothy Dean, also died of a methamphetamine overdose. Now, here's what's weird. The first man that died in his home previously reported that it was in fact Ed Buck that gave him his first dose of methamphetamine. And you're starting to hear allegations that Ed would get these men high and try to make them overdose and would like watching them overdose. These are like rumors that are coming out, that Ed would show videos like, oh, look at this man overdosing in my home. But yet nobody was really going hard after him. How is it that Ed Buck remains free? Michael Jackson's alleged victims are alive. R. Kelly's alleged victims are alive. But Ed Buck got 2 dead men dead in his home, West Hollywood. You tell me, you get 2 dead people in your home off of drug overdoses and nothing happens? Nothing. We're not confused as to why that is, but what I'm wondering is how long is this type of injustice going to be tolerated? So I'm glad to see that the community is standing up. I'm glad to hear that the police are going to investigate. I can't call it. Are they really investigating or are they investigating? My hope is that they will get to the truth and act on the truth. Before we wrap up the show, remember you can always email me. Email Danella at DanellaNOW.com. And on social media at DanellaNOW. Hey, if you're following me on social media and I'm not following you back because I don't know that it's you, shoot me a DM. Be like, yo, it's me from DanellaNOW, your podcast. I will follow you back because I know it's like just a tight-knit group of us. Also, shout out to my new followers. Got a couple more followers this week. Welcome. Thank you for actually subscribing. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. And if it is in your heart and your pocket allows, please feel free to donate. There is a link that would allow you to make a donation so you can continue to see Danella Now, and I can make it bigger and better than ever. Yes, it's safe and secure. Now, those of you that are a praying bunch, a loving light, meditative bunch, send your girls some light. It's been tough. You know I send light all the time. I send prayers all the time. But a sister could use some. Let me say this. I realized that anytime you're healing anything in your life, it's really more of an onion. An onion in the sense that, there's layers and layers and layers. And so sometimes you may think that, oh man, it's been X amount of years since X happened. And so things be feeling good because you're like, hey, it's X amount of years. But then all of a sudden you realize, wait a second, there's another layer. So, oh my gosh, I have so much on my plate, and it's just been it's been kind of difficult for me to stay afloat emotionally. I'm going to be honest. It has been quite difficult. But I have been actively working. And when I say actively working, I can say anytime you're dealing with like your plate being too full, when you're like, yo, this plate is too full. What do I do? Do I fight? Do I flight? Do I give up? Like, what do I do? And so I can say that happiness in feeling as though your plate is full, like this is enough, I've had enough, that happiness, even in that, is something that you have to actively work for. So I am working. I will share on the other side. I will share on the other side. Because that's what I do. I will definitely share on the other side because it has been a new learning lesson for me at this age, at this level. I'm kind of like, wow, who knew healing had so many levels? But it does. So, like I said, if you are a praying bunch, a loving light bunch, your girl could use some, send some to me. I will send some to you. And we will just keep this thing going day by day. Day by day. I swear, honestly, especially sometimes when my heart is feeling so heavy, then what I just do, and I think I've said this in a previous podcast before, is you just got to break it down to the smallest increment of time in order to see the next increment of time. And then in time, there'll be larger increments, more days. And you're like, finally, this plate is not as full anymore. So as I work toward a lighter plate, and I don't even know if it'll be a lighter plate, I think it's more of being able to continue to what's the word I want to look for here? It's a lot. I think it's more of being able to not just cope with the plate you're given, but also how to not allow, let's say, past trauma to still hold you back in your current life and your current situations. So I know it's like a lot of vague, but I know those who know me, doesn't sound that vague. You're like, that kind of can make sense. I can see what you're saying. Or some of you that have, your own life experiences, I'm sure as you're kind of like bombarded in every area with stuff, sometimes you could just feel like, yo, I have had enough. But now what do I do? So that's what on the other side of this we'll talk about. Like when you emotionally feel like you've had enough, how do you safely express that emotion? But also, how do you continue to move forward with all of the hopes and dreams and things that you still have going on with that full plate? It's kind of like the waitress in a dive bar, and she holding up that plate, for example, and she got all these cocktails and drinks, but she got to get through the crowd. Right. I'm kind of like this. I've had enough. Can I put this plate down? Wait, I can't put this plate down. Can I just cry for a moment? So that's what I'm doing. I'm just like in it, we're gonna talk about all the things that I'm doing because I can't put the plate down. Plate can't come down. Plate can't come down. So part of not putting the plate down is sharing and being very transparent and saying, check on your strong friends. Check on your strong friends and share love and light when you have it. Yes. So, as always, thank you so much for joining the show. I appreciate it that you do. It has been a journey. And guess what? Can you believe I'm approaching my 100th episode? That's crazy. I'm really feeling like I should start advertising soon. I don't even advertise. I'm just like, hey, you find the podcast. You find the podcast. I'll just advertise on the podcast. That seems crazy, right? Maybe my next donation should go into advertising. Maybe. But I kind of like us having this intimate bunch. I feel like I can talk amongst family. So I like that. But yeah, 100th episode on the way. It's wild. All right, so as always, I hope you have an incredible weekend, and I will see you next week.